Hi, so we've had a fascinating few clips so far where we've been comparing the Indic and the modern civilizations. And in that journey, we came across some very fascinating stuff with regards to our, comparison factors like longevity and others, and also on, the basis for antiquity, etc. Today we're going to do some more interesting stuff, and that's about the influence of this civilization. Now, obviously, such a wonderful civilization would definitely have had a lot of influence around in the area. So let us see how far this influence has spread, and you'll be surprised to see that all the way from Japan in the east to Ireland in the west to Russia in the north to the African Sahara in the in the south, the influence is unmistakable. And in this clip, if you just hang on till the end, you will find some very mind blowing stuff from Russia, etc., what is happening. But then let us start from Japan. And needless to mention, Japan is a Buddhist country. Obviously, Buddhism has come from the Indic civilization. But even prior to that, because we normally think as if just Buddha, because of some travelers, got exported, but it's not the case. There is a lot of other influence too, because some of their earlier gods and goddesses that they pray to are very much like our Ma Saraswati and our other goddesses. So there's a lot of influence out there. And then as we come down to to South Korea, they have this legend of a South Korean king who married a princess from Ayodhya way back in 1 AD or the first century AD. And today there are a million descendants who claim to be from that lineage belonging to Ayodhya and Korea. They have this common thing. Now imagine from then to now is a million descendants. It's the same when you go back, because today it doesn't matter whether you're of any race or religion or whatever. Your ancestors are the same. How? Because you see, you got your parents, father, mother, then they have their parents, each of them having father, mother, father, mother. You go on, their parents have their parents, and then if you go 200 generations back, you will find that there are almost a million people there. So you got not just uncles and aunties, these are all your fathers and mothers, the great, 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 great fathers and mothers. So that is your heritage, and that's such a beautiful thing that you have got. So that's why I say, immaterial of what we are today and what divisions we have, it doesn't matter. Our parentage is very much common, and we have this rich heritage that comes to us. That talking about South Korea, but as we keep moving on, we'll find, we go down towards Indonesia, let's say. uh, in Indonesia, the even the very capital is Jakarta. Now, Jakarta is a Sanskrit term which comes from Jayakarta. Jayakarta. Jaya means victory, Karta means deed or happened. So it's a victorious deed that's happened, and that's how they call themselves Jayakarta. Even though it's a predominantly Muslim country, they even today their chief national airline is Garuda Airlines. And there's a lot of other Indic influences that they have there. As we keep coming up, even when you look at Vietnam, you can check there, you'll find a lot of ancient Shivlingas and whatnots in Vietnam, a lot of such influence. And Thailand, if you look at Thailand, their airport is Swarnabhumi Airport, and there's a long mural of the Samudra Manthan happening there. You can go there, take a look, it's pretty beautiful. And then the kings are called Rama, Rama 1, Rama 2, etc. But can you believe it? Even their 70 odd districts that they have, 40 of them have still retained their Sanskrit original names. And these are like Prachin Buri. Buri is Puri basically, so Prachin Puri. Then they have Ayodhya, they have Kanchan Puri, Kanchan is gold. Then they've got Vishnulok. These are the kind of names that they have for their districts. So a lot of strong, strong influence. And you just go up further, it's China. China is what predominantly Buddhist. But then, of course, being a communist country and a communist government, they have been completely put a blanket on that whole thing, and they try to promote something that is very, very homegrown for Chinese, which is the Confucius. And it is that they have a lot of stuff based upon Confucianism. But frankly, if you look into the Indic culture, I think we got a hundred or more such high thinking people with all, because they borrowed a lot of this stuff from us in terms of philosophy, art, science, culture. There's a lot of borrowing. There's a lot of intermix between these two civilizations, the Chinese and the Indic. You go slightly higher up to Mongolia, and this is most surprising. Even the Mongolian flag today, or if you see on the top left corner, it's got full of Vedic symbols. If you can see out there, they have a Havan Kund, which is sacrificial ceremonial fire ceremonial altar. And then in the Havan Kund, you will find the symbols of yin and yang, which is basically an offshoot from Shakti and Purusha. And above that is the crescent moon and the sun god. The crescent moon is not necessarily an Islamic symbol as we normally associate because of its popular adoption by Islamic countries these days. The crescent moon, if you notice, is on the crown of Lord Shiva, and Lord Shiva is much more ancient than Islam. So it is an ancient Islamic symbol of our ancestors. So the crescent moon is there, the sun is there, and then on top of that there is the Agni. And can you believe it? The Agni is in the form of a trident, of Shiva's trident. Imagine now, that is their symbol, which is even today it runs on their flag. And even you might be aware that Mongolia is known for, in history, for Genghis Khan. Genghis Khan is a terrible conqueror who went across the world, conquered, and has spread a lot of course, pain and horror. But then the word Khan is not Arabic or not Islamic, even though a lot of it is associated with Muslim names. But Khan is actually a Sanskrit word because it comes from these Mongolian tribes who originally would call Khan, because Khan comes from the Sanskrit word Khani. Khani means what? A mine, like a gold mine. So they're big chiefs, they're warlords, they're big guys. They would call them as Khanate. Khanate means, Khan. That means they got he's a big chief. He's like the gold mine. That's how the Khan came. And then when he went and conquered all these areas, and after the Mongols left, when the Turkish Islamic tribes took over, and then, because of the intermixing or whatever, they also, as a prestige matter, took over the surname of Khan upon themselves. And then that traveled back into India, and it has become something like a Islamic surname in very popular in India. But essentially, it's a not an Arabic root, it's a Sanskrit root, the word Khan. And that's the story of Mongolia. But as recently as in the 18th century, they had a minister. Do you know that they have a lake called Ganga? That's because this minister, when he came to India, he went to the Ganges and he took a pot of water, went back and then poured it into the lake and then named it Ganga. That is how they link themselves to the heritage that they have, because they also had all these belief systems from India and all those prior, a lot ancient times. As we go along, I don't have to tell you about Cambodia's, the Angkor Wat temple. The Angkor Wat temple complex is the largest in the world, even bigger than the Vatican. So it's the largest temple complex in the world, and that has been the rich heritage of this land. But then let's now focus higher up into Russia. And Russia is very, very fascinating. The Russian language is so close to Sanskrit that it's considered the closest in terms of any other foreign language in terms of closeness to Sanskrit. But then the fascinating point is that in Russia you will find at least a dozen rivers that have Sanskritic root names. And this is very common because what happens is there might be changes in people, there might be changes in culture, there might be changes in religion, adoption, etc. But the original place names like, river names, mountain names, they remain. You'll find even in the US, you'll find names like Mississippi, Missouri, Milwaukee. These are all Red Indian names and they still continue. Same way in Russia, you will find the river Moksha. You'll find the river Oka. You'll find Sura, Samara. And these are all, the various Rus forms. All the Ruses. The beauty is these are not just some kind of a accidental matching of names, because these names have a theme, because all these various rasas combine to form the chief ras. And what is ras? The ras in the form of early morning dew, or the sentiment of happiness, the emotion of happiness, of sexuality, of romance. All these rasas together form the chief ras. And what is the chief ras? That's the chief river on which Russia is named, and that river was called Rasa River. But then, after the Slavs took over, or the Slavs moved in there, or they became Slavic, the Slavic name of Russia has become, of the river, Rasa has become Volga. But the meaning of Volga is still the same of the meaning in Sanskrit. So you see, even though the name was changed, the meaning remains the same. And that is the linkages that they have with this culture. Now, let me tell you the most mind-blowing part about that. Do you believe it? That they also have, they pray to a god called Radha and Christian. And this is not some Hare Rama, Hare Krishna movement. This is way back. It's supposed to be in their ancestry. And they have Radha and Christian, very cute looking deities. Radha and Christian, Christian is supposed to be a cowherd who plays the flute, and he was in love with Radha, and Radha is the daughter of the sun god, and she's a princess of the island of Rhodes, from where Rhodes gets its name, Rhodes. So Radha and Krishna is part of their ancient ancestry that they pray to, and this is, overshadowed later by Christianity and communism and whatever. But then prior to it, they've got these people who are trying to find their roots, and when they go to their roots, they find all this, and they find gods like Rod, that is Rudra, and Rudra is much more ancient than Shiva. Then they've got Bhog for Bhagwan, they got Swarog for Swarg, they've got Varuna, and all these kind of names. And these people who are searching their roots and start believing those, they're actually in Russia called Rodnovists. You can check the internet and you'll find them. You'll find a lot of stuff on this. So once again, people, let's try and limit this video to a short one. It's very fascinating. Check for yourself. You'll find these details much fascinating. But as we go along in the next clip, we'll go further towards Armenia, and then further west into Europe, and then even Africa, etc. But thank you very much for this interesting episode. Thank you for listening. Cheers. Bye.